Under the shade of the Bodhi tree, Buddha sat in deep meditation, his presence radiating calm and serenity. Disciples gathered around him, eager to absorb his wisdom and guidance. I felt burdened, overwhelmed by the endless stream of information the world seemed to demand I absorb. Master, I began hesitantly. My mind feels heavy, as though it carries more than it can bear. He began to speak. Communication is a bridge, connecting hearts and minds, forging unity in diversity and fostering understanding. His words flowed like a serene river, steady and nurturing, carrying profound wisdom to his disciples. Words have the power to shape realities, sow kindness, and heal wounds, Buddha continued, his tone both gentle and resolute. A disciple named Ananda spoke with curiosity. Master, how can our words serve as tools for compassion and unity? Buddha looked at Ananda, his gaze steady and compassionate. Before speaking, consider this, Buddha said, his voice unwavering. Are the words truthful? Are they necessary? Are they kind? Reflect deeply. Ananda nodded thoughtfully, his mind opening to the responsibility carried by each word spoken. I watched. He poured until the water overflowed, spilling down the sides and soaking into the earth below. Without it, no structure can stand the test of time. He added, necessity gives purpose to communication. Empty words only add noise, but necessary ones provide clarity and focus. The disciples nodded in unison, understanding his message. Kindness wraps words in compassion, softening their edges and fostering connections, Buddha explained, his smile serene yet full of insight. The disciples meditated on these principles, seeking to embody them in their interactions and speech. A gentle breeze danced through the leaves, enhancing their contemplation. Buddha said, speech has immense power. It can heal hearts, forge bonds, and elevate wisdom, or harm and divide. The disciples listened intently, their spirits seeking transformation through Buddha's profound wisdom. Buddha shared a story, illustrating the power of speech. Once, a merchant spoke harshly, not realizing his words caused deep hurt. Buddha began, his tone conveying both sadness and compassion. When the merchant learned the impact, he was filled with remorse. Seeking forgiveness with a humble heart, Buddha paused, letting the weight of the story settle. Buddha continued, forgiveness was granted, but the hurt lingered. Words, once spoken, cannot be retrieved, but their consequences remain. The disciples sat in thoughtful silence, absorbing the lesson about the irreversibility of words. Buddha's teachings took root in their hearts. Buddha urged, speak not out of anger or frustration. Let mindfulness guide your tongue and wisdom nurture your words. The disciples committed to deepening their practice of mindful speech. Inspired by Buddha's call for intentionality in communication, Ananda raised another question. Master, what should we do when faced with provocation or disagreement? Ananda asked, his voice filled with earnest curiosity. Buddha replied, silence can be more powerful than speech. Sometimes, it is best to remain silent rather than escalate conflicts. He added, silence is not avoidance. It is a moment to reflect, to pause before responding wisely. The disciples began to appreciate the nuances of communication as taught by Buddha. They practiced silence as a tool for mindful listening and reflection. Buddha shared another story to illuminate this principle. A young woman sought my counsel after arguing with her brother. Buddha began, his tone thoughtful and reflective. She regretted her hasty words, wishing she had paused and reflected first. Buddha continued, I guided her toward silence, to allow space for understanding and reconciliation. Refusal is not ignorance, the Buddha said, drawing lines in the soil with his finger. It is knowing what aligns with your path. Ananda rose, his heart lighter, the burden of insults left behind like fallen leaves swept away by the gentle wind. The other, Disciples, too, felt enriched, as though each had received a jewel of wisdom that would adorn their lives forever. The Buddha closed his eyes briefly and spoke. Through silence, my child, your teachings have inspired me to change my ways. Buddha smiled, responding, transformation begins within. Commit yourself to mindful practice, and words will reflect the purity of your heart. Buddha encouraged. Let your words be like seeds of wisdom, planted with care, fostering compassion and understanding in the garden of life. Silence guides, action fulfills. His hands cupped the overflowing vessel, pouring out its excess until only a modest measure remained within. Communication is a dance of connection, Buddha explained, his voice resonating wisdom. Approach it with humility, mindfulness, and intention. The disciples bowed respectfully, feeling gratitude for Buddha's profound guidance on conscious communication. Buddha's teachings illuminated their hearts and inspired transformation. The sun rose higher in the sky, signaling the end of Buddha's session under the Bodhi tree. Disciples carried Buddha's teachings in their hearts, each step a practice of mindful and compassionate communication. The Buddha held up the vessel once more, now nearly empty. Purpose does not sustain, but it transforms. It is the fertile soil. The metaphor anchored me, grounding my restless mind and encouraging me to seek purpose in every piece of wisdom gathered. Disciples gathered around him, their hearts eager for wisdom and their minds ready for transformation. The gentle rustling of leaves accompanied the morning light. Buddha opened his eyes and spoke. Listening is the mirror of the heart. It reflects both the speaker and the listener. The disciples leaned in, their attention unwavering. As Buddha continued, to truly listen is to be present, to hold space with compassion. A farmer approached the gathering, his face weary with frustration and sorrow, seeking counsel from the Buddha. Another day, another morning dawned at the serene Jetavana monastery. Birds sang, and the air smelled of fresh dew. Buddha nodded, his gaze steady and kind. Tell me, farmer, Buddha asked softly, when you look into a mirror, what do you see? The farmer paused, then replied, I see my own reflection. Master, you approached him with a question heavy on your mind. Thoughts raced within, loud and restless like a storm. Master, you began, bowing low before him. My mind feels overrun by voices, stories, and teachings. A man once came to me in anger, his heart heavy with grievances and misunderstandings. Buddha began, sharing a teaching story. He expected argument, resistance, or justification, but I listened in silence. Offering no judgment or response, Buddha recounted, his tone steady and reflective. Come, sit by me, he invited. You sat cross-legged before him, seeking solace and clarity in his composed demeanor. His wisdom calmed your breathing. Imagine a garden, the Buddha said, his voice as gentle as a summer breeze. Begin by silencing your own mind. Quiet the chatter of opinions and judgments, Buddha advised. The image felt soothing yet overwhelming. In this garden, the Buddha continued, each flower represents a thought, vibrant and unique. Buddha shared another teaching to illustrate. Imagine a dried riverbed longing for rain. Listening is the rain, quenching the thirst of those seeking understanding and connection, Buddha said. The disciples visualized this metaphor, feeling inspired by the simplicity and profundity of Buddha's words. A brief silence followed, pregnant with reflection. Buddha resumed, avoid interrupting the speaker. Let their words flow like a river, unblocked and unhindered, until their heart is empty. The disciples nodded, internalizing the importance of creating space for full expression during communication. A sense of unity emerged within the group. One disciple, Subhuti, shared his struggle. Master, I find it hard to listen when my mind is distracted or filled with judgments. Buddha replied, distraction and judgment are like clouds obscuring the sun. Mindfulness clears the sky, allowing the light of presence to shine. Silence, you echoed, uncertain. How can silence restore order amidst the noise of thoughts and the demands of daily life? The Buddha gestured toward a small shrine nearby. Another disciple, Moggallana, raised a question. Master, how can we respond to anger or hostility during difficult conversations? Moggallana asked earnestly, seeking guidance. Buddha answered, respond to anger with understanding, hostility with compassion, meet fire not with fire, but with the cool waters of empathy. Buddha shared another teaching story, saying, once, a man insulted me, his words sharp as thorns. I responded with kindness, diffusing his anger. Let them rise and fall, like clouds drifting across the sky. You noticed thoughts flicker in your mind, arising like sparks. Anger fades when met with stillness. Hostility dissolves when embraced with love, Buddha explained, his tone unwavering. The disciples absorbed his wisdom, finding strength and courage to practice compassion even in challenging situations. Yes, Master, you replied, surprised by the lightness in your mind. The storm had begun to dissipate through stillness. The disciples bowed in reverence, gratitude filling their hearts for the profound guidance they had received. The gathering under the Bodhi tree dispersed. Another day, Buddha spoke again. The ears hear, but the heart listens. Through the heart, we build bridges where walls once stood. The disciples practiced listening deeply, attuning themselves to the unspoken emotions and needs of those around them. Buddha's teachings transformed their interactions. Buddha shared, when a tree falls in the forest, it is the earth that absorbs its weight, offering solace and support. The disciples pondered this, realizing that listening could be as grounding as the earth, offering strength to those in distress. He paused, letting his words settle before continuing. A storm cannot uproot what is deeply anchored in silence and understanding. The disciples meditated on patience, seeking to cultivate this essential quality in their practice of conscious communication. Buddha shared another insight. The power of listening lies not in solving problems but in bearing witness, allowing the speaker to find their own clarity. Buddha explained. The disciples embraced this perspective, recognizing that their presence alone could be a source of healing and understanding. And if the world intrudes? You asked, thinking of duties, voices, and distractions that often encroached upon your inner peace. Protect your silence, the Buddha instructed, his voice firm yet compassionate. The disciples felt inspired to embody this generosity in their interactions, transforming their approach to communication. Buddha's wisdom continued to ripple outward. You nodded, feeling his words resonate within your heart. Silence held power beyond words, offering the gift of harmony and clarity. Do not strive to banish all thoughts, the Buddha added. Instead, let them flow without attachment or judgment. Disciples gathered quietly around him, their hearts eager to receive his teachings and deepen their understanding of the Dharma. The gentle rustle of leaves created a soothing melody. It felt like a balm to your restless mind. Through acceptance, the Buddha said, you will learn to discern what thoughts serve you and which are best released. A serene stillness enveloped the gathering. A villager approached Buddha, his expression troubled, seeking solace and guidance amidst the noise and chaos of his life. Master, the villager began, my home is filled with arguments, misunderstandings, and noise. How can I find peace? Buddha looked at the villager with compassion. Buddha asked, when you sit by a river, what do you hear? The villager replied, I hear the water flowing, the birds singing, the leaves rustling in harmony. Buddha smiled gently and said, silence is like the river. It carries wisdom and harmony to those who listen. The mind is often like a turbulent river, filled with noise and restless currents. Buddha continued, His words lingered like a melody in your heart. You thanked him, bowing deeply, knowing you had received a profound gift. Buddha shared a story. A man sought enlightenment but struggled with constant mental noise and distractions. Unable to hear the truth within, he paused briefly, letting the weight of the story settle in the minds of the disciples and the villager. His voice carried wisdom and peace. I guided the man to sit by a quiet stream, to listen not with his ears but with his heart. Buddha continued. In the stillness of the stream, he found the answers he sought, the clarity he craved. The villager nodded, absorbing the significance of silence. A disciple, Mahakassapa, spoke. Master, how can we cultivate silence amidst the noise of the world and the chatter of our minds? Buddha replied, begin by observing your breath. The breath is a bridge between the body and the mind, a gateway to stillness. Through mindful breathing, you can anchor yourself in the present moment, quieting the noise within and around you. Buddha explained. The disciples practiced mindful breathing, discovering its calming effects and the stillness it brought to their minds and spirits. You sat beside him, the river flowing fiercely nearby. He picked up a dry leaf resting on the ground. Embrace it as an opportunity for growth, a mirror for self-awareness. Buddha added, sit with the discomfort. In time, it will transform into acceptance, a deeper connection to yourself and others. The disciples meditated on this, appreciating the transformative power of silence and the self-awareness it fostered. I see a leaf, Master. It is fragile, light, and easily carried by the wind. The disciples reflected on this, recognizing the potential of silence to convey profound truths and foster deep connections. Buddha's words carried profound insight. Silence allows us to listen to the unspoken, to perceive the subtle and the unseen. Buddha continued. It is in silence that the heart's voice is heard and the soul's truth is revealed. The disciples felt inspired by this perspective, finding new meaning in their practice. Buddha said, let your silence be a sanctuary, a space where wisdom and compassion flourish, unclouded by noise and distraction. The disciples practiced creating such a sanctuary within themselves, finding peace and clarity in the stillness. Buddha's teachings transformed their understanding of silence. Buddha shared another story. A sage once visited a noisy village, but his silence brought calmness and peace to its people. The disciples marveled at the story, understanding the power of presence and the unspoken influence of silence. But Master, you said, how can one flow like the leaf amidst the overwhelming currents of thoughts and emotions? Letting go, the Buddha replied, is the practice of releasing attachment to the unnecessary. It is trust in the greater stream. It was alive with mindfulness, intention, and the energy of compassion. The disciples aspired to embody such an active and mindful silence in their interactions with others. The Buddha continued, letting go is not weakness. It is freedom. The disciples meditated on this, appreciating the relational power of silence. Buddha added, silence is a gift, a gesture of respect and presence. It tells others, I am here for you. The disciples practiced offering this gift to one another, finding that silence strengthened their bonds and deepened their connections. You obliged, picking up one that had fallen close to your feet. Hold it, he instructed. The disciples felt this interconnectedness as they sat together in shared silence, their hearts united in the Dharma. Buddha's teachings guided their journey. The world often views silence as emptiness, but in truth, it is fullness, brimming with possibilities and meaning. Buddha said. The disciples reflected on this paradox, finding beauty and depth in the nature of silence. Now, the Buddha said, release it into the water. Let it go, without fear, without hesitation, and without holding it back. The disciples embraced these virtues, seeking to embody them in their lives and relationships. Buddha's teachings inspired them to grow in wisdom and compassion. Buddha concluded, "Let your silence be a reflection of your wisdom, a vessel for your compassion, a bridge to understanding." The disciples bowed in gratitude, carrying Buddha's teachings in their hearts as they departed from the gathering. "Strange," Yu replied, watching the leaf drift out of reach. "It feels like a loss but also a relief." "Master." The disciples practiced sitting in silence, listening to the subtleties of their inner world and the interconnectedness around them. Buddha's teachings shaped their practice. Trust in its simplicity. You turn back to the river, still raging with its unending energy. Buddha's legacy endured. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.